Howdy y'all, welcome to the Booth Western Art Museum. My name is Lynette. I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator at the booth, and I am so excited to have y'all join me again for another live art lesson. So this week, we are going to be looking at, it is inspired by one of, I think I say this every week, one of my favorite artists from the Booth collection. So we are going to be looking at, I'm going to show you some artwork by artist named Kim Wiggins. He is an incredible artist that we'll show you about in a minute. And our art project today is going to be kind of like a funky landscape. We're going to be looking at organic and inorganic shapes. So that's kind of the main thing that we're going to be looking at today in our drawing. But it is also inspired by artist Kim Wiggins, who I'll show you in a brief moment. But first, I just wanted to remind y'all that you don't need any fancy materials to do this project. I'm gonna use a pencil, a piece of paper, if that's all you have, that's all you need. I think I'm gonna use crayons today because I'm feeling that today. But if you have pencils or markers, use whatever you want. And also yours does not have to look exactly like mine. I am even going to change this up, and I'm gonna use different colors to draw it slightly differently because I like to play around with the art process and experiment and try new things. So I hope you will join me in branching off and not doing exactly what I do. And also the whole point of doing these is to enjoy ourselves, to have fun. The more we practice, the better we get at drawing and creating. So the whole point is just to try new things and experiment. So without further ado, I'm gonna flip my camera around and then I will show y'all some of Kim Wiggins' artwork. So you'll get a nice view of the ceiling in our AV studio today. Here we go. Okay, let me get it set up right quick. Okay, this looks good. All right, so this is we have two paintings by Kim Wiggins in the museum. We may have more that aren't on the walls right now, but this is one of my absolute favorites that we have of his. And Kim Wiggins, was born in New Mexico, and he actually sold his first artwork when he was 12. That's crazy. I don't think I sold my first artwork until I was much older than that. But he actually grew up, he basically said that he has been a cowboy all of his life, and that he comes from generations of families who were ranchers and who actually moved out west on covered wagons, which is really cool. And that's part of the reason why he likes to paint lots of different stories about the American West, because that's what he grew up listening to from his family. And he loves telling stories through his artwork in ways that you wouldn't expect. He likes calling his style the unexpected West, and likes to paint new things that you wouldn't normally see when you think about Western art, and he considers himself a storyteller. Another thing I really thought was interesting about I listened to him talk about his artwork, and he likes to engage the senses with his artwork, where he will paint very thickly and create like a texture on the surface, which you can't really see because this is a printed piece of paper. But that's basically to engage your sense of touch. Obviously, we can't touch the paintings because that would be very bad for the artwork. But the idea is, if you thought, well, if I did touch it, what would it feel like? You know, what would the sky feel like? What would these trees feel like? And also, he likes to play with bright color to engage your sense of taste, which you might think, what? But if you think about, you know, this color purple, what do you think that would taste like? Is it like a grape? Is it like a Jolly Rancher, a plum? You know, just trying to get you to think about art in a different way. And that color doesn't just have to be something you can see, but, you know, when you associate a color, you know, with a taste, it takes on a whole new meaning. So, we are going to be inspired by his artwork. Oh, the fun fact, I almost forgot to mention, this is actually this is sort of a self-portrait, because the guy right here in the front with the black cowboy hat, that is Kim Wiggins. So he put himself in the painting, which is very fun. You might think about doing that in your artwork today. Now, the main thing I wanted to focus on, which I talked about a little bit, is organic and inorganic shapes. Now, when you look at Kim Wiggins' artwork, you can kind of see this. So when I say inorganic shape, we'll start there. Another word for that is geometric shapes, which you may recognize from math class. But geometric shapes are more man-made, where it's like squares and circles and triangles and rectangles, where they're either very straight lines or very symmetrical, like this circle moon would be a geometric shape. You also have these very straight lines of the torches throughout the artwork, but then there's lots of inorganic shapes. So that's shapes that you would see in nature. So like a pear or an apple or the shape of a leaf or a flower. These tend to be very curvy lines, like these kind of flowery shapes in the sky, or these kind of bumpy shapes of the trees, even people's hair, where you can see kind of the wavy lines in the braids. So when we're doing our artwork today, I want to encourage you to think about how you can add a variety of shapes and lines in your artwork. So without further ado, scoot my chair up a little bit, and now we're going to start with our drawing. Now I am going, let's see, what should we start with? I think I'm going to start by creating a horizon line, but basically where the land is going to meet the sky, just to give me a place where I can start putting things down here on the ground. Now, I, in this one, decided I wanted to put a building in the front that would show, geometric shapes. Because in Kim Wiggins' artwork, you see a lot of buildings. This shape in the front is actually a church, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But you also have some houses over here. So think about what kind of, I would encourage you to put a building, but if you think about it, what kind of building do you want to put in there? I put like a little house here. I actually think I'm going to draw something that looks similar to the museum. Just because I think that would look very fun to do a museum-inspired piece. So how you draw a building that is kind of geometric is I would start by creating like a square. Okay, let me move this because I see there's a little bit of shadow on my paper. I would just start by drawing like a square or a rectangle. That'll be like the front of your building. Actually, let's see. How big do I want to make this? Let's do that. So I started drawing, you can see I started drawing kind of small in the middle. I'm going to make it bigger, and then I'm going to erase that line that cuts through. All right, sorry I'm bumping y'all around a little bit. And then if you want, at one of these corners, I would do like this bottom left one. You can draw a diagonal straight line that goes back. And then you could even draw one here that kind of goes back at a different angle. And then this can be like the side wall of your building. Then if you have a house, you can draw a triangle on top to make it look like that. The booth doesn't really have like a big pointy roof. It's a very like flat building. It's kind of like a Pueblo. So I'm just gonna keep it kind of like this. But the booth has these really big glass windows at the front. So I'm gonna draw that. Then I'll draw a little door over here. And then also at the booth, we've got these big trees and this nice green grass in front of it. So I'm gonna draw a tree over here. And you can draw this tree however you want. Since a tree is a part of nature, I definitely want to use some organic shapes for that. Actually, here. This one I kind of did like a crooked tree where the trunk is kind of growing at an angle. I think I'm going to draw this one going straight up and down. Here we go. And then yes, just kind of just do whatever you want really with this top bit. Don't think about it too much. You know, trees aren't, there's never a perfect tree. Trees are going to be kind of crooked and wonky, so you can draw this however you want. And then now, if there's other things you want to add, if you want to add a sun in the sky, also, I'll talk about this later, but in Kim Wiggins' artwork, you can see lots of animals in here, so you may think about adding an animal. You could also add, I'm actually going to add a little path. Let's see, here we go. Nice. Add a little path over here. And then let's see, if I was gonna add an animal, let's put like a bird at the top of the building. Maybe we'll make it an eagle, like a callback to last week's lesson. Where'd you, an eagle, there we go. And then I think I'm gonna put, where am I gonna put, I wanna put a sun in here, I'm trying to decide where. Maybe just kind of big, maybe right here. Just do right on top. Perfect. Okay, so now I am going to go in with my Sharpie and I'm gonna start outlining things. Now, one thing I wanted to mention as well is if you are drawing with your pencil or you're gonna go in and outline, one thing you can do, I'll do it with the tree here, is so here I've got my tree. I'll do the kind of outside. There we go. And now if you want, you can kind of see how I did it on mine. I did even more lines on the inside because I was looking at Kim Wiggins' artwork and they have a lot of like in the sky here where it's almost like different shapes inside of shapes. So I wanted to show that a little bit with my artwork so you could even go in and basically make another shape kind of inside this one just to make it look interesting. You also don't have to do this. I just thought it looked really cool, so I wanted to do that. You could even add some lines here. Maybe there's a hole in this tree. Maybe a little chipmunk lives in there. There we go. So you could add little lines like this in your artwork to make it look more interesting. Maybe even when I draw the grass, I can add little lines like this. And then when I go in later and draw on top with the crayons, it's really not gonna cover any of the black because the crayon is a little bit see-through. So you'll be able to see all of these awesome line work that we do later on as we're drawing. So I did want to tell you a little bit about, here I'll put Kim's artwork right here so you can see it while I'm talking about it. So this painting is called Eve of St. Francis, Ranchos de Taos, which you might be thinking, what is that? I have no idea what that means. So this is depicting basically the feast day of the Feast of St. Francis. And St. Francis is a patron saint in the Catholic religion, and he's the patron saint of animals. He actually thought that nature was like a mirror to God and believed that all creatures were his brothers and sisters, even, you know, dogs and goats and horses. And he's even known to have preached to the birds, which I think is very sweet. And on the feast day, which acts actually on October 4th, so it's a little ways away from now, but people will join in a procession, so like a march or a gathering at their church, and they will bring animals to be blessed at the church, which is exactly what's happening in this painting. You see goats and people bringing their dogs and horses, and they're all going to the church to have them be blessed. Now, I did a little bit of research into the church that is depicted in this painting, which I'm going to point out really quickly. So in this painting is actually the San Francisco de Assisi Mission Church, also known as Ranchos de Taos, New Mexico. And you can kind of see back here, there are these spires with the crosses on top. There's one here, there's one also right back here. It's a little harder to see. And then this kind of big brown shape in the middle, that's actually the back of the church. I have a picture here. This is a picture of the front of the church. And then right here, this is a picture of the back of the church, which if you look at the back of the church and Kim Wiggins' painting, you can kind of see, oh yeah, there's like this shape is right there. And it kind of, I feel like it makes sense having this picture to reference when looking at his painting. So this is actually a painting of a real place. And this church, so it's one of the, like the first churches in Taos, New Mexico. And Spanish missionaries, when they came to New Mexico and traveling throughout the American Southwest, they would use materials that local American Indians would use because it would help them adapt to the physical environment of, in this case, New Mexico. And in this, they actually used adobe brick, which is made out of a mixture of like mud and water and other things, which may sound familiar to you because we actually did a lesson a couple of weeks ago about adobe pueblos. So it's the same material. So you mix the water and the mud and you let it dry to create bricks. And then also you would use large logs called vigas, which would support the roofs and had layers of branches and grass and mud and plaster to cover it up. And then the walls of these buildings were really thick. They would be like a couple of feet thick. All right, let's see. Taking a break to think about my drawing. So I like where this is going. You can also, one of my favorite things about this Kim Wiggins painting is the sky. I love this, like, it almost looks like flowery. It is a little bit Van Gogh-esque. But you can try doing something fun like this for the background. You could even make clouds that kind of have more of a flowery shape. I'll kind of make some shapes very quickly in my background, but not too quickly. Okay, so back to the church. So it's made out of adobe pueblo, or adobe bricks, excuse me. So they do this cool thing at the church every year, which is called ejare, or this is a mudding of the church. So basically, because it's made out of mud over time with wind and rain and wear and tear, it starts to, you need to reinforce the structure again. So every year they will re-plaster the church, and lots of people from the church and the community will volunteer to come out, and they will use the same materials that people used a long, long time ago on the outside of the church. And basically they will take the wet mixture and rub it all over the church and basically give it a fresh coat. Oops, sorry, I bumped the camera around. Classic. But I just thought that was so interesting that they do this every year to kind of keep the integrity of the church like it's brand new, basically. All right. I am going to go in with color now, and let's see. I definitely want to have some green grass because I am basing this a little bit off of the Booth Museum. So we've got a nice green lawn outside. So I want to show that. But also, if you want yours to be a desert like I did in this one, you could make it like an orangey color. And then really think about experimenting with some different colors for the sky. I mean, I think purple is such a cool color for the sky because you almost never see the sky, the bright purple. Or you could do pink, you could always do blue. I mean, you can really use any color. Use green for the sky. Just experiment. Try some new stuff. All right. Let's see. And also, just as an aside, the adobe bricks that they used for the church were really good for the climate out in the West because the adobe bricks, they keep a lot, so it's really dry and hot in the desert, and so the adobe bricks would keep it really nice and cool inside of the building. And then at night, when it gets cold, it would keep it warm. So it adapted with the weather in a really good way, which is why they used it for a lot of buildings. All right. Oh yeah, and then also whenever they would mud the outside of the ejare for the outside of the building, that takes like 2 weeks, which is a long time. So this isn't something that they can just knock out in a day as a quick thing. It takes time and patience to make sure that you do it right. So, all right, here you go. Another thing you can think about when you're drawing is Kim Wiggins was talking about how he would kind of engage the senses by using different colors. So maybe you can think about what your artwork would taste like. This brown color, it's giving me like caramel vibes. Maybe nice and sweet. Maybe this green is like a spicy pepper. Just a fun way to think about your artwork. Okay, here we go. I don't have tons of time left, but I'm trying to get in as much as I can here. Here we go. Let's see. It doesn't look exactly like the booth, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm going off of memory. I look at the outside of the building every day, but it's hard to get it all in one picture because it's not a perfect rectangle, so I'm simplifying it a lot. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what, let's use the gray. The gray that we had in the window here, use that for our sidewalk. Wonderful. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to do? I think I want to make my sun pink. Don't judge me. I think I'm still gonna do a blue sky to go with my green grass. And then maybe I'll make the tree green too. I just kind of decided I wanted to do the green grass. So blue sky obviously would go well with it. I could also do yellow or orange. I'm feeling blue. So I think because I'm doing more normal colors, I think that's why I wanted to make my sun a little pink. Just make it a little bit different. Add a little red in there. Just make it look interesting. Okay. Oh, here, let me draw. Let me get, ooh, you know what? I'm gonna make my little eagle over here blue. Call back to last week. It also just looks like a bluebird now, but that's fine. We all know it's a blue eagle. Y'all know. It'll be our little secret. Like, that's a nice bluebird in your sky, or on your buildings. Like, no, it's actually an eagle. Isn't that crazy? Okay, well, I think it's about time for me to skedaddle, and I'm going to finish this off camera, and I'll post a picture of it later on. But I'm going to flip my camera around really quick. Ooh. There we go. Just to see y'all for a minute before I go. All right, so I had a really good time with this today. This is a fun process. Just trying out different shapes than you normally would can make you think about your artwork in a new way. And I would love to see how yours turned out. And also, I just now remembered holding this up that I did not write my name on it. So I'm gonna do that really quickly. Hopefully it'll show up. Yes, it did. There we go. Write your name on your artwork. Don't be like me and forget all the time and then have to tell people that it's yours because they can't see your name on it. You want people to know that this is your artwork and that you're proud of it. So put your name on stuff. And then also share it with me. You can post it as a comment onto this video or the picture I post later. Anywhere on social media, you can use our hashtag Booth Museum so that we see it, because I love seeing what you guys make each week. It's so fun to see how we interpret the same idea in different ways. So I will be here again next week on July 14th, the same time, 10:45 a.m., same place, Booth Western Art Museum Facebook page. And next week, I wrote it down because I remembered. Next week, we're actually going to be drawing a windmill. We have a really great artwork from the collection that has a windmill that's very lovely. And then we'll talk about, how people out west use them, because I feel like it's not something you normally think about when you think about the West. At least I don't. Maybe you do. But that is it. That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank y'all so much for joining me. It's so fun to have y'all with me during this process. And from the Booth Western Art Museum, and I thank you for letting us and joining us as we share America's story. And I hope to see you next week. Y'all have a good one. Bye.